I know. Yeah, he's a hard guy. He's a difficult guy in some ways. There's no denying it. He's a complicated character, so I accept that it will be difficult. I understand.
Yeah, I guess on my end, I would say it's hard to pick one because I like all the characters that we've had a hand in creating. It means a lot to me that I think that all of our characters have a decent place in somebody's heart, which is wonderful. Um, so I'm not going to pick any one character. I'll pick a few.
Adam, you have to.
You're on the spot, Adam.
Everyone else played by the rules.
Adam, pick one.
I love all my children. We know you love all of the children equally. Now pick one.
So much pressure. I'm going to say that I think my favorite story, the way it played out in this last season, was Isaac's story, Ade. Isaac's story means a lot to me and has interesting thematic stuff that I think is very relevant today. But I also love the way Alucard's story plays out thematically, and the way that Dracula's story plays out in terms of having a second chance, to me, is also a very interesting thematic element. So, but yes, I did pick Ade. Don't hate me. I'm sorry.
Perfectly fine.
Sam, you're up.
You know, this is very difficult because I've always gone back and forth on all this stuff. But one thing that has always stuck with me since the very beginning is when we first had even the remote chance to work on this show. There was always one character. Obviously, Alucard had kind of a look and a design and a feel from the games, whereas some of these other characters are kind of fresh takes because they were little pixel art characters that never got really another interpretation. And one of the characters that we got to kind of what was a character that existed but was very it wasn't really fleshed out, was Sypha. And Sypha was a character that even from the very beginning, I always had a pretty specific idea for her look and her mannerisms and all that kind of stuff, and never really strayed when we were doing early development for her. And so Sypha has always kind of stuck with me because that was this kind of she was this character that was the seed planted that grew into a lot of everything else that came out from the series, because that was that first image in my head. It was okay, I know pretty much what I want to do with Sypha, and everything else kind of spawned from that to an extent. And I swear I'm not just saying that because we're all happen to be on picking the same folks.
I mean, it's suspicious, but
yeah, live your life, Sam.
When I was doing the very earliest sketches, I had this image and with the cycle where it's Trevor was all over the place and trying to figure out what to do with him, and Alucard was already kind of set in stone. So it was Sypha was this character that got to put a lot of the creative reinterpretations of the character into, and that made her a lot of fun, especially when we were starting to throw her in fight scenes and she kills things and it's always exciting.
Okay, so for me, I hands down, as much as I love Dracula and Graham McTavish plays him perfectly, Sypha is my absolute favorite character.
He has to say it because I'm here.
But in all honesty, she's such a badass. She's a strong woman. She's smart. She's powerful. She's a great role model, I think, for other girls and young women to look up to. And God, she's amazing. She's such a well-written, fleshed-out character. And so for me, hands down, my favorite. Yeah, it's true.
Very good.
I was gonna say it's gonna sound cheesy because again it's the joke of we're here.
Yeah.
But I've always said, and I have the Twitter receipts to prove it.
Both of
I
us
love
do.
I love all of the characters, but Isaac has just been such a special character for me. And it was also the character that when we would get the scripts to record, I purposefully would skip over anything that had to do with the Isaac storyline because I wanted to watch it like a fan. I wanted to be surprised and follow his storyline and his development. And I didn't want to read it or think anything of it myself. I wanted to hear Ade do it. I wanted to hear his Isaac.
Love that.
And I've also said that like Isaac having his soliloquies over any kind of fruit
Yeah, right.
throughout this show, whether it's berry or like the lime or whatever. Like there's always a great monologue coming if Isaac has fruit nearby.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah.
Wow.
I just have to say real quick that every one of y'all have made me cry during recording sessions at some point.
Oh,
I didn't know
wow.
that.
Really?
Good way, or because you were like, no, what are these people doing?
Wow.
No, in a good way.
Oh.
At some point, I'm glad that I haven't been on video calls for those because, like, y'all are doing your work, and I can just like be muted and be like, all right.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, to Sam's point too, like there were multiple instances in the last episode of the season where Graham and Emily were talking together, Lisa and Dracula, that really choked me up. Isaac, some of your last lines in your very last moments, episode 6 of the season, really choked me up. Alejandra, your last lines of the season really choked me up. It really is across the board. It was kind of like, because we had been working on this for so long that like it was kind of like our exit from it as well. We got to see the exit play out on page. So
Yeah.
So, for all the actors, what were your favorite moments in the booth, and what scene was your favorite to record? So I'm going to throw this to Emily first.
That one is easy for me because the only time I ever got to record at the same time as Graham was when we did that last scene from the last episode. And I remember I knew so little about what I was involved with when I went to record my very first episode. I was like, oh, Castlevania, it's a video game. This is going to be cool. I don't know. And I did not get to record with Graham at the same time. But I knew him because we had done work on a video game together, motion capture work years ago. And so that was helpful because I already knew that I had great affection for him. But it was just so satisfying and we weren't even in the same room. We were just on the line together because we were in different places geographically. But we got to read together and we got to bring this journey between these two characters to a close. And it is just, I mean, it was such a beautiful scene, and it made me choke up. And I loved, after everything that they had gone through, that they got to have that beautiful ending and the fresh start.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely agree 100% with that. That was the one that stood out for me. They, not just the resolution of the characters, but the fact that we were able to do it together in real time made such a difference. And really fitting that should be the time that we were able to do that. That when we closed it out together as characters and that story came to an end for the two of them. Well, I mean, actually, it's the start of a great new story for them, which is the wonderful thing. It was really special because, as you rightly say, Emily, I mean, a lot of the time you're not able to do that for various reasons. You're not able to either speak with the person that you're going to be acting with, or you're doing it alone, or you're reading with someone else. And yeah, that was great. It was.
Do you want to take it?
Sure. I'm actually going to throw back to the scene that Adam was talking about, because for me it was also one of the most important and one of the ones I was the most, I think, not necessarily afraid to record, but like the weight of it was definitely not lost on me. And I remember doing the first read through of that and coming off of the previous episode, and it was very sad and it was very heartbreaking. And so I wanted to make sure we got that right. It was also closing out like Trevor and Sypha and Alucard's story in that section. Oh no. Sorry, it keeps popping up that our internet connection is unstable.
I'm
No,
still
we
seeing
can
you.
see
Keep
you.
going for now.
Actually, James was in the booth. We were in the booth together. So kind of that
Oh.
stuff leading up to Trevor appearing again, I got to do with James, and then Richard was on the line. So to get together, he wasn't physically in the face. But it was a very emotional moment, and recording that there was definitely a lot of weight to that, and I wanted to make sure we got it right. I wanted it to be as honest as possible, and I feel like we got there, and I was really happy with that. I think I was the most scared to do that, and I think it turned out great. And then once I saw what Sam did with that sequence, it was. Yeah, my parents cried. So
Yes. That's the goal, right?
Right, to make your parents cry.
Make the parents cry.
Yeah.
I think for me, well, I mean, as many of you know or don't know, usually when voice actors are recording, we're in a booth by ourselves, and we have a phenomenal voice director, Meredith Lane, who reads the lines back to us and coaches us, as well as our phenomenal director.
Meredith rules. Yeah.
Meredith rules. But there was one time I was fortunate to be in the booth with Graham McTavish. And Graham, I don't know if you know this. This is the first time we worked together. And I was so intimidated because many people don't know. Graham's tall and he's really jacked. And I was like, who is this man? Oh my God. And then he starts speaking and he's like, are you still my friend, Isaac? And I was like shaking and I was like buckled. No acting involved. It was so intense. It was so amazing. So that was definitely one of the highlights for me.
It's a wonderful scene too. It's like jam packed with like really important information, I think. So
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Setting up the throughout the rest of the series.
Oh.
And now we have one actually for Sam and Adam. Some fans wanted to know what the character's design process was like. So when you guys were developing the show, how you kind of decided how the characters were going to look, and then also the overall look of the show, how you develop how the colors and the lighting and everything's going to come together. Because I know, Adam, you did a lot of work, especially everyone talks about the giant mass of human bodies coming for Isaac. So if you guys could talk more about your process and how you guys decided that this is what the characters are going to look like, this is what the world is going to look like.
Yeah, I'm gonna start, and then I'm gonna throw it to you, and then you throw it back to me. I'll just say that the only real contribution that I had to character design department was that I talked to Sam about it, and I was like, well, we had very similar views about like what era of anime we wanted to be inspired by, on top of the fact that we were going to like be dipping into Ayami Kojima's work that she did on the previous Castlevania games. But I was just like, I want the characters to vaguely look like they're sprites, just palette wise. It doesn't have to follow them in any other way, but the only look that we really get to have of these characters is just as a sprite that you get to play as, right? There's not much story in those old NES games. So I just wanted to make sure that they would at least vaguely look like the things that people remembered when they were like injecting these sprites with a bunch of like, fantasies in their head about what these characters were doing. And then Sam, you take it from there.
So, like Adam said, we the jumping off points started with looking at the legacy of the Castlevania games and looking at the artists that have worked on it, and then getting a feel for the vibe of the show. So Ayami Kojima has this very elegant gothic artwork. But looking at the story we're telling and the tone of it, there's humor involved, there's a lot of expressiveness and stuff, and so trying to find that balance between that very gothic artwork, but also sometimes very funny and expressive characters, and meeting that somewhere in the middle. And that's largely drawing inspiration from things that I've grown up loving with between obviously the Castlevania game artwork, but also things like Berserk and Cowboy Bebop and all that fun stuff. So it's kind of like throwing all that artwork up there, staring at it for a while, and then like shooing it away, and then starting to draw, and trying to find that that middle ground. When it came to, I think back on designing Trevor a lot, because he was one that had, I think, was one of the more difficult characters to kind of nail down, because there were some iterations of him, but this was definitely kind of like a new take on his design. We were, for a little while, there was some conflict, and I was kind of drawing him a little bit older, but the voice actors that it looked like that were auditioning were sounding younger, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta kind of play around with this, kind of younger, a little bit more spry version, and there was this kind of conflict in my head with that, and it wasn't really clicking with Kevin Coldy either, and we just weren't really feeling that, and even before we had really landed some of the auditions that started taking us to the older Trevor, I remember this one night where I was just like, I'm gonna just go for it, and I did this kind of like really like somber, gritty, angry man take on Trevor, and standing there holding the whip in the snow with this fur cloak and everything like that. And I remember sending that over, and
I immediately pointed that out, Sam, and I was like, "This rules. Yeah, this is right here." It felt really good.
Somehow, just by chance, folks like to point out that Trevor looks like Richard Armitage, but we actually designed Trevor before Richard Armitage was cast, and just by chance, that's somehow we were led to Richard Armitage, and he happened to be just like this absolute perfect fit for this design that
very lucky
landed on. And so, yeah, sometimes it just comes to you. Like I think Sypha's general design was always kind of there, like I said earlier. And then there's some cases where you're pulling directly from the source material, because it's just like these iconic characters, like the Alucard, that you want to make sure you're hitting. But then sometimes it's exploration. It's doing a lot of stuff that you're not really feeling, but you're kind of putting out there, and then there's this click, there's this epiphany. And
yeah, I mean, Sam, would you say that, like, in terms of the palette and stuff too, like, we're just essentially just referencing like Gothic artwork and kind of keeping things dark a lot of time, just to be in akin with like vampire shows in general and like horror shows in general. But I would say that, like, on my end, when I was talking to Sam, I wanted to do a heavy post-production show with very, very strong color grading so that we could get the exact clean look that we were looking for. Because in 2D animation, there's not usually a lot of post-production done these days on TV shows most of the time, unless it's like anime centric. And because I was referencing anime, I wanted to do something with a lot more post-production, a lot more polish to it at the end of the day. And that led to us being able to solve problems that are particularly strong and difficult animation problems, which is having 1,000 bodies clump into a ball during an episode, which is very, very difficult to do with 2D animation. But because we had access to 3D and we had access to this technology to do it, we were able to do things that were thematically interesting. Because that element, for example, the Legion Ball wasn't scripted originally. It was something that we came up with that fit into the themes perfectly, was actually a reference to the games, and made that sequence really dramatic at the same time. So that's what the post-production process and technology allows you to do, which is good.
Yeah, I would say that to an extent, the type of color and lighting and everything draws inspiration, obviously from Japanese animation studios that we referenced, but from I think live action sources as well, and trying to absorb some of that the lighting and color that you're able to do with live action lighting and set pieces and stuff, and bringing that element into 2D animation, and not always 100% successful, and so we just keep striving to do better with all that stuff. But that's certainly an element is trying to make things feel a little bit more grounded that way.
I have a question for the voice cast. Is there any specific line of dialogue from your characters that has stuck with you for many of the 4 seasons? Graham, let's start with you.
Dear. I am always the worst person to ask that kind of a question because I wouldn't say that I just erase lines pretty much as soon as I've said them, but I'm not good at long-term storage of
Yeah, me neither.
no. I mean, I can barely remember what I said the other day on the job that I'm doing now. So it's, yeah. I mean, all I can say is that I absolutely loved doing the part. I really, really did. I mean, and this particular interpretation of such an iconic character for me is what made it particularly special. As an exploration of somebody that we're all familiar with. I'd actually played Dracula before on stage, and it was a very, very, very different interpretation. Giving him that kind of a life, that kind of empathy, really, feeling, was great for me. So anything that spoke to his feelings, whatever those lines were, I think really when I think back, actually, in all seriousness, when I think back, I would have to say it's probably that first season where he has the chance for love and a future and a relationship and an escape from the world that he is inhabiting, and then when that's taken away from him, that was the really, really extraordinary dramatic moment for me overall, and hopefully for other people watching it, and that's what I think really made that characterization so interesting. He was given a different aspect to his character that I don't think has really existed properly before with Dracula. So I think there's a great testimony to everybody involved in the writing and producing and directing of it.
Emily?
I also cannot remember. I'm bad at remembering specific lines.
No, very hard. It's very hard.
But I do, I just loved because, and this is sort of also because it was my experience of going in to record. I mentioned that I knew very little about the project other than what it was based on. And I remember the first session that I had to go record, they showed me an animation sequence, and it just took my breath away because it's so stunning. And one of the things that I love about how the whole series is set up is that it's these stark visuals that are beautiful, that are haunting. It's this desolate place that Lisa is wandering into, and then she encounters this character that, as Graham was saying, we all have these ideas already about Dracula and his torture and his torment, and yet some of the first things that she says to him are just like, "Hey, you're being rude. Are you gonna offer me a drink or something?"
Yeah.
And I just love how it undercuts that, and like in just a few words, like sets the tone for sort of what I think is so brilliant about the series as a whole, that we get to dip into this dark, gothic, really disturbing imagery and the darkness that lies within these characters, but also that there is always humor in it.
Yeah.
And that they are so human, no matter what their superpowers are, or whatever's haunting them. So I like that. And I guess now I need to just go back and watch that first episode again and come up with a line. Because inevitably people ask you to, like, when you're signing things, people are like, put your favorite line on there. And I don't have one for Castlevania, so I got to figure that out.
God, I might be misremembering, but Graham, I think my favorite line that you've ever uttered, and this is the one that my fiance wants me to use around the house, is, "What is this thing that has happened to my wife?" So
That's
she likes me to say
go-to line.
Yeah.
A great go-to line. It really is. You can use it in so many situations.
Oh yeah, she walked out of the bathroom one time with like her hair standing on end because she was bleaching it or something, and I said that line.
That's wonderful.
Wait, Sam, what about you?
Oh gosh. You know what kind of I can't help but to think of, and it might be because I had to watch it about you know 30 different times because I decided to animate the cut, was when after Sypha catches Trevor and Trevor looks up at Sypha and Trevor said hello, and just that delivery just killed me. And it also, like, that shot is so beautiful because Adam did just this amazing job coloring and lighting it and everything, and that one like still tears me up now. So it's such like a simple, little line, but it Richard just did like a really wonderful job getting that perfect feel, and we tried to our best to make it just like this perfect moment. So that one sticks with me.
I think for me it's probably it's because you're so fucking rude. That's one of my favorites.
That's dope. Also, line. The amount of memes created around that.
I know the meme, right? So yeah, that's probably mine.
You can also apply it to so many things in life.
Everything, especially what's going on right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm like,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, we just saw it on someone's phone case.
Oh, so someone's phone case? Yeah, we did, which is pretty cool. So
that's a great case.
Yeah.
What about you, Alejandra?
Okay, so just because Sam just mentioned that last sequence, I really did like "you're a rude idiot, Trevor Belmont, and I love you," because again, there was just so much around that moment for me. But in season 2, I really loved when she's talking to Alucard, and she says, "You did what needed to be done, but it's okay to mourn the man too." Because although Dracula to Trevor and to Sypha is this villain and this entity that needs to be stopped, and they don't have any personal connection to him, and to them he's a vampire. In that moment, recognizing what that meant to Alucard and the sacrifice that he had to make, and the fact that he was also a man, and he was a father, and he was a husband, and he was all of these things before grief drove him to do what he did. Having that moment and recognizing Alucard's struggle, I thought was hugely impactful, so much so that line has stayed with me through the 4th season.
Yeah, I feel like that's a perfect moment of Sypha being kind of the rock of the trio, and then unfortunately having to make sense of all of these gritty men's feelings for them.
I have a follow-up to that as well. So someone asked, what went through your mind when you first read the part of the script where Sypha says, pardon the curse, shit, and then explodes.
Oh no. Did we lose them?
Because he said shit.
Ade and Alejandra, I think we may have lost you for a moment. I have no idea.
Oh, are we back?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay. Says internet connection unstable.
Yeah. Okay. Ade, you may want to say that again if you can.
You stop that shit.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And again.
Oh no. Okay, we can't say shit anymore.
Every time you say that word, you're gonna stop saying the word.
Oh no. The Twitter police are here.
Say it again. Sorry, Sam, say it again.
Oh, sorry. You cut off at the bad word, which I can't say anymore because it keeps freezing every time I say it or anyone says it.
No.
Oh, even inferring.
No. Still gone.
Let's see.
Are we back?
Oh,
yes.
There you go.
Did you get Ade's question?
No. So he got cut off at shit.
Oh. So there's a question that said, what went through your mind when you first read the part of the script where Sypha says shit and then explodes into profanity word salad?
So I had some forewarning because Meredith, our lovely, lovely casting director and voice director, basically had told me, basically they wanted me to say it, and it was just kind of.
Damn it!
No, it's because you keep saying these words. Just
the little spinning wheel gets it across, but
oh no. Well, I will say about
We
the
got
sequence.
into.
Oh.
Are we still here?
Yeah,
You
you're
guys
back.
keep cutting out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
How much of that did you catch?
A little bit at the beginning, and then you cut out in the middle, sadly.
Okay, so basically, the running joke was that they just wanted to get me to curse. So Meredith had warned me ahead of time that it's like, hey, like Kevin and Warren want you to curse.
By the way, everybody, just so you know, there is a video of Alejandro saying all of his curse words in the booth that's floating around.
Oh, really?
It's
That's very
very,
funny.
very good. I highly recommend
then-
tracking it down.
Oh, you're back. No, you're
We're
not.
back?
Yes.
I want so badly for this connection to hold.
Mhm.
Oh.
It's a delightful video if you want to hunt it down on the Twitterverse, and it was a wonderful moment when recording the show because obviously Alejandra is.
We're about to send smoke signals.
Yeah, you might have to SOS.
The Streamily bunker, unfortunately, turns out to not be a great place to stream. It looks like.
I mean, you guys are frozen on our screen, so we can't even see thumbs up.
All right.
Oh, really?
So basically, when we freeze for you guys, you're all gone.
You're all
For
right.
us.
Like, where are they?
Okay.
It's
Right.
okay.
Right.
You can hear us now, though?
Yeah, we
can
can hear you now.
Okay. For hopefully the final time.
Right.
It was just an inside joke. Like, they just wanted to get me to curse because they thought it'd be funny to hear me curse. Like, we just want Alejandro to curse. So they wrote it into the 4th season. That was the season of, like, all of the little inside jokes and Easter eggs.
And it was amazing.
And we got that read on the first take. And then basically, I see Meredith and Kevin talking, and then Meredith buzzes in again and says, hey, we're just going to do a safety pass on that. We're just going to get a safety.
Yeah.
And so we do it again. And as soon as I finish and I've posted the video, I do the last, and I look up, and Kevin Coldy, our executive producer, is standing in front of the booth window like this and lowers his phone and walks away, kind of chuckling to himself. And that was that. So there wasn't a safety pass. They just wanted to get it on video. And then
Very good.
yeah, they sent it to me, and the title of the video file is For Alejandra's Mom.mov.
Did you see the chat? No.
Oh yeah, no, my parents have seen it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the infamous cursing
It's
sequence. Yeah,
I love it.
for the umpteenth time. Hopefully you caught most of that.
Yeah,
We did.
Okay,
By the
great.
end, yes.
This kind of ties into another question we got asked: is if anyone has any funny blooper stories from Adam and Sam, either sitting in on records, things that you thought were particularly funny, and you guys can actually bring in stories with actors who aren't here because you guys saw it and we didn't.
Yeah.
And for Graham and Emily as well, something that happened when recording that was particularly funny or memorable.
Bloopers are tough. I mean, I feel like the funniest thing that happened during recordings was what Alejandro went through.
Right now, today.
Yeah.
Right.
Even that too, yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think. That's tough. Sam, what about you?
Oof. Well, like everyone else here, I have the memory of a goldfish. So it's these things don't. Oh gosh,
It's very hard.
put on the spot. It's such a
Really
difficult.
hard.
Yeah, in terms of like bloopers during acting, that's tough. I mean, sometimes a handful of people have like screwed up lines and then like cussed a whole lot after screwing up lines on occasion. But I don't even remember the specifics of that stuff. Which is just like a thing you do, right?
We're definitely struggling with this one, I think. Definitely struggling to remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I would say that in terms of bloopers, outside of the booth, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a blooper, but like, if we had instances where Spencer Wan, one of our lead animators in early seasons, did dodge rolls in the parking lot in order to animate a dodge roll for Trevor in a sequence. And he has video of that sitting around, and it is very funny.
That's great.
Speaking of Spencer, there was this great clip that he put out where
with the stick.
What was that?
Was it the one with the stick?
Yes.
Where he
yes, it was.
The audio file.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. There's Trevor is commanding the people in season 1, and he says 6 in front, 6 behind, and 6 in the middle. For whatever reason, the way that he edited the audio inside of Storyboard Pro, it added this kind of like to the front of 6. So he was saying dicks in front, dicks behind.
It's on Twitter somewhere, so just go to Spencer on Twitter and you will see this full sequence. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely owned. Absolutely owned.
Well, I mean, for me, it was just I had issues pronouncing Wallachia. You know, like I'm trying to make it all fancy, Wallachia. You know?
That's how you say it where Isaac's from.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I had a reason, but yeah, I had a lot of hard times like that.
3 or 4 different pronunciations of Targavishta in the show.
Oh yes.
Because we went through like a whole bunch of different recording sessions, and everyone would like there'd be just like a time where we got a good read or something like that, but the pronunciation wasn't quite right. And we're like, well, it's close enough.
Just regional Wallachian dialect.
Exactly.
You pronounce it differently in different parts of the country.
So, there is that's a funny thing. Like our pronunciations of Wallachia and Targavishta and stuff like that was always just like a little bit all over the place, but we got close enough with him, so it's fine.
I have a question for Adam and Sam. What advice would you give to people who want to break into animation?
God, I gotta say that social media, unfortunately, has been really helpful for finding good artists. If you have a great portfolio that's really easily accessible, which is really important, I think, just have your illustrations out there. And believe me, I promise we don't care if it's fan art. It can be really good, strong fan art. It could be really good, strong personal illustrations. It does help if you have a style that's flexible and you can do a lot of different kinds of illustration and whatnot. And then, that could be a range of things. It could be illustrative work. It could be character design work. It could be animation that you've done. All that stuff is really, really helpful for finding people. We have hired so many brand new artists through Twitter.
Yeah. I try to keep my eyes out there for great artists that happen to just sort of show up on my feed, and sometimes I'm specifically doing searches and stuff like that. So make sure to as best as you can tag your artwork, tag your write in things that make sense. So I might stumble on it and that sort of thing. But I guess the other thing to say is that not every position in animation is one that requires drawing skills. There's compositing is a creative position where you're coming up with effects and lighting and color and all that kind of stuff, but you don't necessarily have to be great at drawing. There's production work that you can be doing as well. We have
a good editor.
You've got editors, all that kind of stuff. So, I wouldn't necessarily count yourself out if you don't necessarily have the drawing skills. Obviously, like a lot of the positions that we have are drawing related, but there's even some folks who are kind of up and coming when it comes to their artistic skills, but get their foot in the door through production work, being a production assistant, working their way to coordinator and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes they decide that they throw their hat in the ring for open positions in artistic roles, and because at that point we have a good relationship with these individuals and all that kind of stuff. It gives them we know, because part of the process is you want to work with people that you are good folks, that you have a good relationship with, that aren't and sometimes when you're out there hiring, like you just don't know, you're trying your best and stuff. And so that's something that helps as well. It's just like get your foot in the door some way, shape, or form. And as just like a general note to artists everywhere, it's like don't feel like you have to like land the job at the big studio or whatever right out of the gate. Like it's okay to you know, the slow and steady, take the slow and steady route. I you know, started off doing just whatever work we could get, doing like little slot machine games and doing you know, educational cartoon stuff and that sort of thing. And that, you know, that was okay so long as like I was always like kind of focused on trying to get to like vaguely a certain place. And
Hey, Sam, we got to wrap it up, buddy.
Sorry, we're hard off at 11 a.m., but thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks, everybody. It's so good to see you.
Dealing with the Wi-Fi. And make sure you hang tight for Graham and Emily and Ade and my signing coming right up. So we'll answer any questions we didn't get to then.
Everybody, good luck with the signings. Really good seeing everybody.